You're tuned in to this week's episode of The Local Lens from the Powell County Health Department.
Because the threat of jail doesn't do it. If we could get out of it by incarcerating people, well, people would be free right now.
Yeah.
We'd have done a long time ago.
It doesn't change anybody.
So it doesn't change it. But what we're doing does change lives. Because I cited a couple examples. 10 years clean, 15 years clean. The little girl that works in the front office went through our rehab here. She's 6 years sober and she's an employee here.
They've been working in this realm for over 2 decades. And when they started off, they weren't that good at it.
We started seeing that
It didn't work.
it wasn't
Our way
working.
wasn't working.
It really wasn't working. We was just like the revolving door.
But they adapted, they changed their approach, they listened to people who were actually trying to go through the program to see how they could help. And it's worked.
It came from a
It's changed.
punitive, moral standpoint to therapeutic
Yes.
and kind.
In today's episode, we are with Wayne and Jeanette Ross, more affectionately known as Pastor and Momma. These two are at the helm of Shepherd Shelter Ross Rehab, located in Mount Sterling, Kentucky. This place has become one of the staples of the local recovery community, so we're going to be taking a deep look inside of this very successful nonprofit that has stood the test of time. There's something very natural about the way that this organization has grown and also the way that this program goes. So we're going to go on and get into this interview. Thank you for tuning in today, and we encourage you to share the show with your friends. Go on and send it out to anybody you think should be hearing this. This is The Local Lens from Stanton, Kentucky at the foothills of Appalachia. This show is coming from the Powell County Health Department and Kentucky Rio. I'm your host, Nate Brooks, and you are listening to The Local Lens. These are our people using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do. All right, would you guys introduce yourselves?
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
Jeanette Ross, co-director of Shepherd Shelter Ross Rehab.
And I'm Pastor Wayne Ross, and I'm the founder and CEO of Shepherd Shelter.
Okay. And so this threw me off for a little bit. I've heard about you for a while. You're known as pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Just as pastor.
Yeah,
You
everybody
don't
does.
have to say anything else. Like, if you say pastor in this circle, then
Yeah.
they know exactly who you're talking about. So
Yeah.
I've always thought that is a funny thing. So you guys are both co-directors, you said?
She's the co-director, and I'm the CEO,
And
Okay.
the founder.
And they
Yeah.
call me Momma.
Mama.
I
Mama
mean-
and pastor.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
love- yeah,
Yes.
nice. What a combo.
Yeah.
So how long have you guys been doing anything with this rehab?
This rehab or where we started originally?
We'll start with this rehab and then we'll back
Okay.
way up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
2007, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
2007 here in Montgomery County.
Okay. And so let's go on back in history then. When did you start with anything in the beginning?
November 3rd, 1999, originated in Lexington in 4 small houses. And we grew to the point we were pleasantly surprised by people being court-ordered to a Christian program. We had no idea this was going to happen, and we suddenly started receiving court orders. We had never even familiarized ourselves with the courts or court orders or how they work, but suddenly people were court-ordered to our program.
Yeah.
We began with 12 Steps in Christ out of Ocala, Florida, and that was our curriculum at the beginning.
Actually, back up a little bit because when we first originated too was homeless people. That was our
Goal.
goal. We wanted to help people get off the street that are homeless in Lexington, and we opened up these little homes and rented them. Actually, the church rented them, and then we found out through letting them come in they had an addiction problem. Then that's kind of how it led into the court orders and stuff.
So why? Why did you get
Why did
involved
we
with
do
all
this?
this? Like
I
a
know,
lot of
right?
people, anybody that you ask is going to say
Yeah.
homelessness is an issue that we should do something about.
Yeah.
Not many people follow it up and do something
Well,
about it.
I have a personal reason. I was homeless at age 14. I never returned home. I lived on the street from age 14 on. And so it was personal toward my heart to help people who were homeless. I knew the feeling of eating out of the trash can and not having a bath for 2 weeks. And I see these people passing by our church and they were destitute and desperate. And I had so much empathy for that.
Yeah.
That I began to try to pull them in a few at a time and feed them and help them.
We fed them, clothed them, and all.
So it's a personal reason for me.
So how long did it take looking at the homeless service, like just the service that was intentionally focused on homelessness? How long did it take for the addiction to become a focus?
Not long.
Okay.
It was just a matter of a few months.
Yeah,
and
really.
we began to realize, and then we experienced exponential growth, but it really wasn't because we were praying to grow at all. We're trying to help as many people as we could.
Right.
We are faith-based. We maintained that status, and from 1999 till 2018, we did not accept any form of insurance or anything. We maintained this as a nonprofit personal payment, and if you couldn't pay, you could still come, and we have yet to turn anybody away. Even today, if you don't have insurance, we're not going to just put you out on the street. If you come here and it doesn't work for you, then we still are gracious enough to say, we'll find you somewhere that does work for you. So we're about helping people.
Yeah, really. Bottom line is.
And our program can last up to 18 months or longer if you want to stay. We've had people stay for years. Our employees come out of our people that came through here.
And how do you guys make that work? If it's not an insurance now, is it just based on donations then at that point?
We accept donations, but we don't receive a lot of donations. But any profit made from insurance for someone else immediately is placed back in a fund to help someone who can't pay.
That makes sense.
So that's the good thing about nonprofit, because we're not trying to make a buku bunch of dollars to pay some six-figure salary to somebody who doesn't care at the end of the day.
There are so many rehab programs across the state now, so let's look at how Shepherd Shelter Ross Rehab stacks up next to those, starting with just the size of the program. How does this compare to other rehabs around?
What do you mean, like what size?
How many people? How many
people?
Yeah, how many people are in here at a time?
We house up to 54 at any given time, and then we have the people at our other transitional living house who went to phase 4. We give them jobs. We get them jobs. We help them get the GED, get back into college. Had somebody in college this week. Had somebody graduate a GED this week. We have a 100% success rate in job placement, regardless of whether you could be here and be illiterate, and I can still get you a job. And we've proven that. We've done that several times.
That's definitely, I love that.
Yeah.
Why is that an important thing for you guys?
Well, I think it gives us a step up above just being a number at a rehab, that we personalize it. The people that introduce themselves out here, they don't say, hey, I'm John, I'm an addict. They say, hi, I'm John, I'm family. And we associate with building family units and restoring families. And so many people that are here come from different dynamics and backgrounds, and their families are broken. And we have what we call family dinner night. At family dinner night, everybody gathers around, and the kitchen brings the food out, and they serve you while you sit there. But while you're waiting to be served, we start with the client number 1, and you say all of the things you're grateful for, and then we move along the line.
It's person centered.
So, and in Christmas time, we make sure the gifts are provided for people that can't go out. We make sure that the needs are provided for people. We did the thing for Thanksgiving where
each individual, if you want to make it, and there's a lot of people come through here, they don't want to change, they don't want to make it their court order.
Unfortunately.
And that's, it's part of it too, but us, bottom line is we're about,
restoration. Families, people, get your life back.
Yeah. And we have all of that to offer because, by the grace of God, because people in the community, like Gateway, they offer their service up here. Like he said, GED, college. I don't know. We have a lot of people that come up here.
So many factories work with us with job placement. Yes. Restaurants work with us with job placement.
Have a lot of stuff.
For the first time this year, we celebrated a young man. His name was Hambone. He celebrated, his name is really Albert, but everybody calls him Hambone.
Yeah.
Albert started back with us 19 years ago as a church member, and Albert was an alcoholic, a chronic alcoholic. And he decided he wanted to get free. Well, this past 2 Saturday nights ago, we celebrated, gave him a 15-year sobriety chip. Albert has been sober for 15 years because Shepherd Shelter was in existence.
So what does it mean for you guys to be doing this in your, I don't know if it's your hometown, but in the town that you live in?
It is our hometown.
This is our hometown. Yeah, we originated from here, and we went to Lexington for how many years?
21 years.
21,
Yeah.
and we moved back.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
How does this feel then? Like, I mean, if you're putting people in jobs here, then like you're...
Yeah.
It feels like home. It feels great.
It feels great, but I feel like a totally different person from 20 years ago, when we've always been in ministry, but it got involved with more, of the homeless and the addicts and, stuff like that. And to look back there and to look at now,
It's different.
it's totally different,
Yeah.
Our heart is still after people. It's always been after people,
So you've been doing this for a while. How
At
has
least 20.
working in recovery changed over this time?
It came from
Oh,
a
it's changed.
punitive moral standpoint
Yeah.
to therapeutic
Yes.
and kind.
And this kind of approach goes hand in hand with Christian thinking. And this is, after all, a faith-based program.
Faith-based to me means that I hold biblical values
At least try.
dear, and that's my standard, that's my foundation.
But that kind of approach to recovery hasn't really been popular until the last few years. And these two, over their 2 decades of experience, have seen just how important that shift has been.
We trained in a different setting than what we're currently doing.
Now.
We've always been Christian and wanted to do rehab the right way and to help people change.
That's what we
But our
meant by-
training, unfortunately, came from the jail, the SAPS program, the
Yeah.
Recovery Dynamics
Down
program. We've
Elizabethtown.
all been certified in that. We trained in a prison in Elizabethtown.
That's what we was trying to find our way, the trial and error thing, because really
Yeah.
we didn't know a whole lot about it because
Yeah.
we kind of enable people too. And
Yeah.
He was more firm and I was more enabling, so we kind of then we went and had a lot of
Training about
training
it.
and stuff.
But unfortunately, that training come from the judicial side of it.
Yes.
The disease concept wasn't taught when we started.
Right.
It was not a disease, it was a choice. And if you made that choice and you were in some way immoral and you should be punished for that choice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now it's flipped the script completely, especially about 5 years ago.
Right.
And it's more of a person-centered treatment. It's more of hands-on. It's more gentle. It's kinder. It's a better way to reach people because the threat of jail doesn't do it. If we could get out of it by incarcerating people, well, people would be
done it
free
in the
right
80s,
now.
yeah.
We'd have done it a long time
It
ago.
doesn't change anybody.
So it doesn't change it, but what we're doing does change lives because I cited a couple examples. 10 years clean, 15 years clean. The little girl that works in the front office went through our rehab here. She's 6 years sober and she's an employee here.
Now, let's be clear. We are not saying there's no place in recovery for law enforcement or for the judicial system. But to be honest, prison is a place for rude awakenings, not to receive encouragement and care. You said it went from a punitive moral standpoint. Is that what you meant by just like it was judicially? It was just like, it's...
We were on
Judicially,
board.
we were on
too.
board with that because we felt
We
like
felt
you
it.
violate your court order, I contact your court, they send somebody to get you, and you really don't want help. But so many times that isn't true.
No.
And now we've learned through experience and
Yes.
hard knocks with people that they do. There's so many that do want help, but their judgment's impaired because they haven't been
Yes.
sober long enough
Yes.
to have a right kind of thinking. It can take up to 2 years for your thinking to come back
Yeah.
to make rational decisions,
Right.
depending on what your drug of choice is.
So what changed this for you guys? Because like you said, you bought into the judicial part of it, but what did it take for you two to start flipping the script, I guess, like you said?
We started seeing that
It didn't work.
it wasn't
Our way wasn't
working.
working.
It really wasn't working. We was just like the revolving door,
Yeah.
and people coming back and people going other places, and
They
we
kept
really
saying, and they kept saying because of the our son actually has been an addict too, and he would say, "Mom, y'all are just too strict up there. I mean, you come in, you got to stay in there for 30 days. You can't see nobody. You can't talk to nobody. You can't do this. You can't do that." He said, "You're not ever going to build nothing like that," because he was coming from his angle, from being an addict, and so we kind of like actually started taking a look at that and.
yeah.
and
Through
started
him and
changing.
others, who
Others,
we
yeah,
realized
yeah,
that
definitely
it's not
others.
working. We see you go back again and again, and then we start the new way of trying to help, which has always been our background of
Yes, it
Christianity and
has.
kindness and
It
caring.
has.
But we were implementing tough love with Christianity
Right.
and kindness and caring
We
to
tried.
try to do it the courts system way, and
Yeah.
it's just not working.
No.
Just like that, I think that's why they developed specialty courts. I sit on drug court, a specialty court. And I think that's one of the jobs of specialty courts is to come alongside and meet people where they are.
It is.
How does something like this rehab work with drug court?
We work with drug court as well as we can, considering the community. A lot of times it's not really a good idea to take someone into inpatient treatment in their hometown. So we do have some. We have one coming up that is from this hometown, but it's not
We've had
very
it in Tallahassee,
often.
too, you know.
But the drug court that we work with the most is the one in Georgetown, and it absolutely does work. And the one in Frankfurt works with us, and it's
Nicholasville.
working. Nicholasville, all of those, it's really working because the judicial system does have a role. We get a lot better results out of somebody that has, let's say this, an external motivator. We really do. We get a lot better results with somebody that has that versus somebody that walks in here and says, I want to be clean, and then they get to the place where the drugs are out of their system and they're craving, and they'll make a wrong choice.
So here's a way that you can look at it. The judicial system sets up guardrails, while the rehab is responsible for making sure that there is a road paved between the guardrails. And this kind of approach works. We heard from a guy named William, who is actually a participant in Shepherd Shelter Ross Rehab, that he definitely felt the pressure of the judicial system keeping him in this rehab program. So here's a clip from William on that.
I want the instant gratification. I want to go get it now, but in reality, I know I can't do that. I'll be wanted before I get to the end of the street corner. And, but I also know that, it didn't take 19, 20 years of being an addiction to happen overnight. So I can't think that this is going to happen overnight, of changing my life and doing a whole turnaround. So it keeps me sitting still for,
So we're going to change directions a little bit. One of the key differences between Montgomery County's recovery community and Powell County's is Montgomery County does not have a syringe exchange program. Powell County does. So a syringe exchange program is a government-ran program where the health department opens up and accepts people's used syringes and replaces them with unused and new syringes. And this is all a proven effort to lower the spread of infectious diseases like HIV and AIDS. Whether you guys are for or against it,
We're for
I'm
it.
on the committee for the harm reduction with the health department here.
okay.
Yeah. He used to work for the health department, so we're
Yeah.
definitely for it. But it got
We don't
bypassed.
have it.
We don't have it.
Why are you for it?
Because I feel like it does exactly what the name says. It's harm reduction. This is not about, contrary to what our local government believes, this is not about enabling addicts. It's not about shortchanging the diabetic and providing needles to the druggie, as I've been told. It's not about that. It's about our communities being safe, our children being safe. It's about those needles not being thrown on the ground. It's about all kinds of money being saved through somebody that's not going to contract AIDS or HIV. That's what this is about. It's about bettering our communities and helping each other.
This is a part of an approach called harm reduction, which is not a new idea. It's been around public health for a long time.
We faced the same thing when I worked at the health department. I was a practicum student there, and when that they faced when they first passed out condoms, they were saying, okay, you're passing out condoms, you're endorsing fornication, you're endorsing illicit sex, you're just justifying it, giving them the means to do it. And truly, that's not what it was about. It was about safety. You don't have to give people permission to have sex. They're going to have sex, right?
Amen.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you provide a safer way, then
There's a big difference between the health department giving out condoms and the health department playing Marvin Gaye, lighting candles for you.
let's get it on. Yeah.
But okay, that's
That's cute.
another common area where harm reduction is applied pretty much every day is the use of seat belts. Vehicles are a very dangerous thing to be operating, and as lame as it is to wear a seatbelt, it has been proven that seatbelts will keep you alive if you were to wreck your car. So any kind of harm reduction is really just a way to help keep people safe and alive. And the syringe exchange program is no different. But we're going to circle back around now to a topic we kind of hit on earlier, and I think it's one of the most incredible things that Shepherd Shelter Ross Rehab does, and that is job placement. When you're getting people ready for job placement, what goes into this process? Like, how do you get somebody ready for a job?
Wow. The 10-step process. Okay, we start with your treatment plan and your discharge plan from the day you come through our doors. When you come in, I'm going to need to know, do you have your birth certificate? Do you have a driver's license? Where is your social security card? 9 out of 10 people are like, I have no idea. So what we start with immediately is preparing you for work. We call it our work readiness. And we get you signed up for the community action class, which they're wonderful. It's a 2-week class. They're going to give these guys, every one of them that come through, get a $100 gift card. If you need shoes, they're going to help you buy your shoes. And they're going to pay up to $30 to help us go. Our employees are going to get online. We're going to get your birth certificate. We've had to drive people to the Social Security office. We've made all kinds of trips to Moorhead because our county's no longer doing driver's license or IDs any longer. So we're driving them to Moorhead to get their IDs and get their license. So that's the process, and that's the reason I said it's a 10-step process. You got to be clothed. You got to have a driver's license. Some people require a Social Security card. You may need special shoes, you know, or something to work in. And then once we get you that job, we're going to provide transportation there and back. But it's not going to be just a handout. It's a hand up. You're going to pay $5 a day. $250 to be dropped and $250 to be picked up out of your check. So you're paying your own way to be transported every day back and forth to work. Because as we say here, in the real world, that's the way it happens.
By that time you're here probably about 3 months or 4
months. And we wait till you we wait till you get your check.
Yeah, till you get
we
all
wait
that.
till you're on your feet. We wait till you're able to do this.
Then they pay so much back.
So how long in the transitional living normally are you there? I mean, I know
it's a 12-month program, but you can stay longer if you want to. We've had people stay there 2 and 3 years.
We've got people still here staying.
Okay, so it's not just, I guess
They
that's
won't
what I'm
leave.
kind of.
We have a woman here who we probably broke every rule with, but we knew that she was worth saving.
Yeah,
and
this is one was co-ed.
We were co-ed, and she had her children had been removed by CPS. She was here. She got sober. She stayed a whole year. We worked with her. We worked with the city she came from in Kentucky. We worked with social workers. We worked with courts. We wrote letters. We helped her transport back home. Finally, we weren't even supposed to have kids here. She got her kids back in court. Everybody here as a family celebrated. And we put this woman in the room and housed her and her 2 kids for 18 months. And today she's a manager at McDonald's, and she will never forget what we did. She tells everybody. And she's a regular church member.
She's been clean, how long? 5 years?
5.5 years.
5.5 years.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the job placement. That is one of the most long-lasting differences you can really you get somebody.
That was
you're
the
giving them a lot
barrier.
of tools, and that's the barrier. That's a great way to do it. That turns the corner between like having an income.
Right.
So you're providing.
Because so many people get out of rehab and they drop them, and they're like,
Sorry.
I'm passionate about it. I'm just
that was
passionate
just what I was
about
gonna
it.
say. Just
Yeah.
the same thing you were talking about.
And then they get the cell phone with all their old contacts, and they're like, "Oh, what's old dude doing?" And one phone call, you're back.
Yeah.
Because we're giving them, I feel like everybody gives them, people resources, but then they don't teach them how to use those resources.
Right.
They don't give them the tools to empower them.
And see, like
to do that.
with
That's
our
true.
phase
That's what we're
3,
seeing a lot.
we actually do not allow you to have a cell phone in phase 3.
You can go to work.
You can go to work.
We'll
You'll be
take you
picked
there.
up and brought back, and you're held to the same standards as phase
We'll
2.
take you shopping.
But you don't get that cell phone. until you get to phase 4.
Yeah,
Because you need to know how it is to go out there and be on a job and not have that phone and not be able to hook up with old contacts until you're more stable. So we found out that the cell phone was a big barrier to what we were doing. So we said, no phones in phase 3.
Yeah, and then after you go to phase 3, you go to phase 4, then you're allowed to have a phone.
Right.
But we trust you a little bit more then. And actually, it helps the person, the individual too.
So we've had people ask us, why should we hire your people instead of the general public that's coming off the street? And I always say to them, because with us, you know exactly what you're going to get. If you hire somebody from off the street, as prevalent as addiction is nowadays, you're probably going to get somebody in there that's an addict, and you're not going to know it. But you get one of our guys from here, and you're going to get somebody that's held accountable to a higher standard. They're tested, they're labbed, drug tested, and they're labbed. So it's a no-brainer to hire somebody that's coming from a place of accountability versus somebody who's just out there on the street looking for a job.
Makes sense.
Very true.
There's a very natural progression that happens here too. People come in from being in jail for however long it's been, being on the run for however many years it's been, and you guys really gradually work people back into being ready to get back into society, get them on their feet. And it's incredible. It's incredible to see, and it seems very intentionally done that way. It's no wonder that the government trusts you guys to put you in charge of doing things.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any closing statements?
No, just we're here, we're available, we'll help anyone, regardless of ethnicity or ability to pay. We'll help you.
How would somebody contact you guys?
859-498-7111 and do a phone screening. The only people we're unable to take is a sex offender, and for obvious reasons, we're right beside Du Bois Gym, and that houses children. It's a public park, and so we're not able to do that. So we're unable to take sex offenders, but anybody else we can.
Great. All right, thank you guys so much for coming today.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Well, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you all for tuning in and listening to our show for a little bit. This is a pretty incredible interview to get to look at the progression of people who have a genuine care and interest at heart and how they've reacted to the changing recovery environment over the past 2 decades. I've been in this facility before, touring there and interviewing some people that were there, and people are genuinely happy and excited to be there. It seems like it's an effective place. And actually, we have an interview of 2 guys who are currently going through the program and another guy who was a recent graduate and now works as a peer support specialist there. So if you're interested in hearing that, you can go back in our archives and hear more about what it is actually like to be at Shepherd Shelter Ross Rehab as a participant in the program. Thank you all for tuning in once again. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to let us know. You can reach out to the health department and tell somebody there. Find us on Facebook at the Local Lens podcast page and tell your friends about it. Be vocal about liking this show because the whole reason we're doing it is to generate public support for the recovery community. I would like to thank Wayne and Jeanette Ross, or Pastor and Momma Ross, for coming on our show and telling us about their story and their program. I would also like to thank WSKV for helping us broadcast the show, and also a big thanks to the Powell County Health Department and Kentucky Rio for letting the show happen and sponsoring it. We appreciate all of you guys, and thank you, dear listener, for tuning in. This is The Local Lens. I'm your host, Nate Brooks. These are our people, using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do.